Hello, and welcome back. I'm Professor Seth C. Oranburg, and today we're discussing the termination of agency relationships. We're discussing how these relationships end and the legal consequences that follow from this termination. Termination is a critical part of agency law because it determines when an agent's authority ends and what responsibilities remain for both the principal and the agent. So let's start with the basic ways an agency relationship can end. According to the Restatement Third of Agency, an agency relationship can terminate in several ways: by mutual agreement, by fulfillment of purpose, by revocation or renunciation, or by operation of law. First, termination by mutual agreement is the simplest scenario. It's when both the principal and the agent agree that the relationship has served its purpose or is no longer needed. For example, imagine a business owner hires a marketing consultant to design an ad campaign. Once the campaign is completed, the owner and consultant agree the project is over. Then the agency relationship ends. Next is termination by fulfillment of purpose. This occurs when the specific goal of the agency relationship has been achieved. For instance, if a real estate agent is hired to sell a house, the agency relationship ends once the house is sold. It's straightforward. The job is done, and the agent's authority naturally concludes. Termination can also happen through revocation or renunciation. The principal can revoke the agent's authority at any time, and similarly, the agent can renounce their role. However, this kind of termination can sometimes create complications. For example, if an employer suddenly revokes an employee's authority without notifying third parties who have been dealing with the employee, those third parties might still reasonably rely on the employee's apparent authority. And this brings us to one of the most important aspects of termination: apparent authority. Even after actual authority ends, an agent's apparent authority may continue until third parties are notified of the termination. Let's break that down. Apparent authority exists when a third party reasonably believes that an agent has authority to act on behalf of a principal, and this belief must be based on the principal's conduct. If the principal fails to notify third parties, they may still assume the agent has authority, and that can lead to unintended liability for the principal. For example, let's say a company fires its purchasing manager but doesn't inform any of its suppliers. If the former manager continues placing orders and the suppliers have no reason to know that the manager's authority had been revoked, the company might still be bound by those orders. That's why providing notice to third parties is crucial when terminating an agency relationship. Now let's talk about termination by operation of law. This type of termination happens automatically due to certain events, like the death or incapacity of the principal or the agent. For example, if an individual hires a personal assistant and later becomes legally incapacitated, the agency relationship might be terminated because the principal can no longer consent to the arrangement. Similarly, bankruptcy can terminate an agency relationship if it makes the purpose of the agency impossible to fulfill. So what are the legal and practical consequences of termination? One major consequence is the end of the agent's actual authority. After termination, the agent no longer has the right to act on behalf of the principal. However, as we've discussed, apparent authority may persist if third parties are not notified. Principals must take proactive steps to ensure third parties are aware of the termination. This can include sending direct notices to those who worked with the agent and updating public records like websites or business directories. Another consequence is that both principals and agents have continuing obligations in some cases. For example, the principal may need to indemnify the agent for expenses incurred during the agency relationship, even if they come up after it's terminated. Meanwhile, the agent may have a duty to return the principal's property or protect confidential information acquired during their role, and this duty can continue after the agency relationship is ended. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a tech company hires a developer to create a new app. Halfway through the project, the company decides the relationship is not working and hires a different developer. If the company doesn't inform its partners or clients that the original developer no longer represents them, the developer might continue making commitments on the company's behalf. Without proper notice, those commitments could still bind the company, leading to unexpected liability. Termination also affects how disputes are resolved. If an agency relationship ends abruptly or improperly, it can lead to conflicts over compensation, authority, or liability. For instance, an agent might claim they were wrongfully terminated and seek damages, or a principal might allege that the agent continued to act without authority. These disputes have the importance of clear communication and thorough documentation when ending an agency relationship. To wrap up, let's review the key points. Agency relationships can terminate in several ways: by mutual agreement, by fulfillment of purpose, by revocation or renunciation, or by operation of law. After termination, actual authority ends, but apparent authority may persist until third parties are properly notified. Both principals and agents may have ongoing responsibilities, such as indemnification, returning property, or protecting confidential information. By understanding these principles, you can navigate the complexities of ending agency relationships and minimize the risks for all parties involved. In our next episode, we'll discuss how to notify third parties of termination of agency, which helps resolve some of the problems with apparent authority persisting after termination. Until then, think about examples where you've experienced the end of a professional relationship. What steps were taken to ensure a smooth transition? Did anything go wrong? Were there any lingering effects? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.